Cageside with John Morgan.
We are back. We took a 1-week hiatus. I was a little busy. I have to apologize for that. We may get into that here in a little bit. But this past weekend, Bellator 300 from San Diego, Usman Nurmagomedov, he's good. UFC Fight Night 229 in the books. Bobby Green, he makes one hell of a statement. Dana White has a change of heart when it comes to flag, and he says he doesn't give a damn about your feelings. He confirms that Conor has put in his paperwork. We'll get into that. 2 weeks away. UFC 294, the rematch. Makhachev, Oliveira 2. Got a lot to break down. Let's bring in the man. He sees it all. He knows it all. You can follow him on Twitter, John_Morgan_MMA. His name is John Morgan. What's up, pal?
Listen, man, I appreciate all that. There's a lot going on, and I appreciate the introduction as always. But come on, man, you don't think I'm going to let you off like that? Or like, oh, we may get into it. We may get into the reason I wasn't available to do the podcast this past week. Come on, man. You were there. I saw you. The world saw you at the UFC Apex. This man had to take a week off for the podcast because he was flying into Las Vegas to be a licensed referee for the state and to be there at Dana White's Contender Series. My phone was blowing up. I was getting text messages. I was getting DMs. Everybody was excited to see you in there, man. And you're the one that gets to tell the story, dude. I mean, what an incredible experience. I know that you've been in the sport for a long time. I know you've been in sports for a long time. But come on, man. What an accomplishment. What a night that was.
You know what? It felt like the culmination of a lifetime of martial arts. And I fought, okay, not very well. Like, I had an undefeated record, but let's be honest. Like, the guys that I got in there, you know, we could pick them up off the side of the highway. Now, and this is going, like, we got to understand when I got into MMA, what it was then compared to what it is now. It was the have and have-nots, right? So, but I trained a long time, grew up wrestling, got into Muay Thai, kickboxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. I did it all. And now to kind of like apex that into reffing in the UFC Apex Center, Dana White Contender Series, being licensed by the hardest commission to get licensed by, the state of Nevada. It was just, I'm actually, this is crazy. I have goosebumps right now talking about it because we talked off air, and like, you know that I've been working for this for a very long time, and I've been playing the game. I've been doing everything. I've been boning up on everything. And luckily, like the CFFCs where we originally met, they gave me the platform to be seen by this commission, to be seen by the UFC. Man, it was just awesome. But as prepared as you are, I don't care. The nerves that I had getting into that cage the first time, I was mic'd up right here. They put the mic right there. I was worried they were going to hear my heart just beating out of my chest. And I'm really just lucky that I got a great opening fight. Not only just great from the standpoint of like, it was a great fight. It was a barn burner. It was vicious shots, but also that there was no crazy circumstances happening. That's what I was most nervous about, because I didn't want my first fight to have some like crazy circumstance that I'm going to have to go out, check the replay, converse with the commission. And then ultimately that decision, because for everybody who doesn't know, no matter what, the commission can't really tell you what to do in that moment. Like, they're not like, Eric, make this decision. It is up to you. And especially an executive director, Mullen, who goes by the book. This man, he's a legend in the martial arts game. And he rules by like the letter of the law. And the letter of the law that says that only the referee can make the determination in the cage in real time. Now, he can go and correct it way after the fact. You know, we've seen that happen, but that's what I was worried about. And luckily that didn't happen. So, man, I got great reviews from Mark Ratner, from Jeff Mullen. Like, I was just so happy and so relieved at the same time.
You did a great job, man. And if anybody hasn't had a chance to see it, definitely go check it out, because you had stoppages in both of your fights, right? So, you had to actually be involved in both of, and I thought you made great calls on both of them. But I love what you're saying there, talking about the nerves. And you know what? Honestly, that's probably a thing that maybe fans don't necessarily understand and need to recognize, and not just in MMA, but really probably in any sports in general. Like, come on, man, you're getting in there. Like, there's nerves as well for that official. So when you talk about criticizing, I mean, obviously you deserve the criticism. You're there to do a job. You know what I mean? Like, you should be held to certain standards, but do understand there is a human factor in everything. Like, even for the officials as well, they're feeling that spotlight. And I imagine, man, I know you're going to continue to have success, man, because I've seen behind the scenes, as you said, the work that you put in, the commitment, the knowledge, the level you have. Dude, you're going to get those big assignments. You're going to be at T-Mobile Arena at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later, but at some point you'll be there. And I'm sure the nerves will be there as well, right? Because now we're moving outside the Apex. Now we're in a big building with big crowds, with everything, and they're going to be there. But just like the competitors, you got to push that to the side, and you got to be dialed in. You got to be ready to perform. And despite the fact, and I love the fact that you're a man enough to admit, the nerves were there. I thought you did a great job, man. I thought
if you don't have nerves, and like seriously, CFFC main event, opening fight, I still get nerves of every single card, and here's the reason why. And it was like magnitude in Dana White Contender Series. And if you don't have those nerves, like, I'm still a competitor. I still want to do the best job I can possibly do. I'm not complacent in anything. I try not to be complacent in anything I do. Kerry Hatley said something, UFC ref, Bellator ref, very, very well-respected referee, Kerry Hatley. The week prior in the Apex, he's like, I heard you got your first assignment next week. And I was like, yeah, man. And he's like, dude, Contender Series is the most stressful event you can work. And I said, don't put any more pressure. And he's like, listen, it's dead quiet in the Apex. And you feel like you're under a microscope, and you're always under a microscope, but even more, you feel like you're under more of a microscope. And the magnitude that your decisions have on those fighters is almost higher than a UFC event, regular one, because this is if that kid gets his dream, or if he doesn't.
Wow. But man, how cool is that though? It just goes to show you, talking about like officials and mistakes and things like that. And I actually tweeted about this the other day. It's just like, I don't think people realize how much the officials, especially in MMA, care. Like, they really do care. You know what I mean? Like, they really do this because they love it. Nobody's doing it to get rich. Nobody's doing it, because it's just so financially lucrative that it's worth doing. They do it because it's a passion. They love it. And I love to hear that from Kerry Hatley, to realize what's at stake and to realize the dreams that these people have and the journeys that they're on and what they're chasing. That's amazing, man. And maybe he didn't necessarily need to tell you that before the fact. Maybe he could have told you after the fact.
I said, yeah, no pressure.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy, Eric? Maybe you tell me afterwards. Isn't that crazy? Think about what we just did. Not put that on you ahead of time. That's amazing, man. But it just goes to show you how much they care.
And to sidebar this just a quick second, I was getting ready to leave my hotel, jump on the shuttle, head to the Apex. I'm all dressed up. I'm in my blacks. I got my Nevada State Athletic Commission patch, the one that I've just yearned for so long. I have it on my chest. And my wife's like, oh man, you're going to do great. And I'm like, babe, like, I'm not going to lie. I'm so nervous. She's like, no pressure. You've done this 1,000 times. And I was FaceTiming her. And I flipped the thing around and I had ESPN and it had the little ticker at the very bottom. Dana White Contender Series tonight. And I go, no pressure. Like, they're advertising on ESPN right now.
That's awesome, man. That's so cool. I'm so happy for you, man. You did a phenomenal job. Like I said, you really have put in the hours and time and the effort. I mean, the hours, listen, the years, you know what I mean? Like, this is not something you do overnight, man. So you put it in, you deserved it. I was happy to see you in there, man. Like I said, people were hitting me up. They're like, bro, isn't that your co-host? I'm like, yeah, that's him, man. That's the guy. He's in there. That's cool, man. So, and again, look, man, you did a great job, even with the nerves that were there, man. I thought both your stoppages were right on it. You had a TKO, you had a submission, you were on top of both of them, man. You did a great job. So I'm just hoping we could see even more, man. Hey, look, CFFC, baby. We put fighters in the big show. We put referees in the big show. You know what I mean? Look, if you want to come through, come to CFFC. Big things happen.
Yeah, though, and the one thing I would like, and I know this always be says, but I think my history of 1, fighting, 2, competing in jiu-jitsu, and 3, being a lifelong martial artist is that I am going to err and I'm going to let every scenario play out, because I think either through my training or whatever, I've seen so many scenarios happen that I'm not going to warn the fighter once to improve his position or to protect himself. I'm going to warn him multiple times, just because I know that fights can change on a dot. And Kevin McDonald, one of the greatest refs that there's ever been, and probably the most knowledgeable, one that there ever has been. He gave me this one piece of advice one time. He says, be far enough away or be close enough that you can intervene right away. Be far enough away that you can change your mind.
Ooh, I like that.
Never forgotten that. So you see a lot of refs on like regional scenes or whatever, they're on top of the action. And then you see like kind of the more seasoned ref, they're maybe 2 or 3 steps back, but where they can get in really quick, but change their mind if they need to.
That's interesting. I like that. Kevin McDonald, as you said, man, a great official. We don't get to see him out here on the West Coast too often. He's on the East Coast usually, but every conversation, every interaction I've ever had with him has always been, man, top notch. And I've never heard it phrased exactly like that. But that's the assignment in a nutshell, man. That's spot on.
Yeah. All right. Well, I could talk about my Vegas venture all day because I'm just so proud. But man, and I gotta thank you, CFFC, for really giving me that. If I was not reffing on UFC Fight Pass and with CFFC, then it just wouldn't happen. So man, tip of the cap to you. You always put me over on the broadcast. I think that really goes a long way for those higher ups to see it, because guess what? Everybody watches these regional shows because they're scouting. Not only are they scouting fighters, they're scouting, play by play. They're scouting referees. They're scouting all of it. So thank you.
Absolutely, man. You deserve it. Like I said, you put in the work, man. You can't teach somebody to care, man. And your passion has always been there. So was proud to see that for you, and future big assignments to come. I know it.
Bam. All right, let's move on. Bellator 300 from San Diego, California. You can have all the buildup you want. The card was there, everything. It was just was it just me or just kind of a ho-hum event?
It was. Unfortunately, I hate to say that because there were a lot of big stakes at it. And look, there's a lot of big stakes for the promotion as a whole, right? As far as what's coming next for Bellator. Are they folding in with PFL? Is there a future? Who knows? But yeah, I agree. I mean, it started out with losing the Ryan Bader fight, of course. So you lost one of the title fights. That was unfortunate. Then you had Liz Carmouche and Alimale McFarland. And I was always worried about that. And I think this is a good example of what happens when friends fight, right? And they were friends. They weren't forced to fight. I mean, they always said, like, I think it'd be cool if we meet one day. So they had been talking about it for years. But there's something, man, to go in there with a friend, to go in there with somebody that you care about, and to say that you're going to have a competition is one thing, but it's not a competition. It's a fight. You know what I mean? And it's hard to kind of ratchet it up to that extra level when you really got to put some pain on somebody. So I thought that kind of fell a little bit flat.
She acknowledged that in the post fight. But hey, let's start at the top, right? Let's start at the main event. Usman Nurmagomedov completely outclasses Brent Primus, and like how tough is Primus, but he completely outclasses him to retain his lightweight title. He moves on to the finals of the $1 million lightweight Grand Prix. He was just kind of better everywhere. Do you think the talent that he has is absolutely ridiculous? How skilled Usman is absolutely ridiculous. Do you think that when fighters are that good, that it's hard for them to really step on that gas? Because like there was a few times in there, I'm like, I wonder if he stepped on that gas, maybe took a little bit of chance he could have gotten him out of there, and probably gotten him out of there second, third, fourth, and or fifth round. I don't know.
It's a good question because he is unbelievable. Usman Nurmagomedov is amazing. You talk to, the camp, the family, the team, they'll tell you like this guy might be the best of the bunch. You know what I mean? And we're talking about up there as good as Islam Makhachev, you know what I mean? Which is amazing to think about. I mean, incredible 18-0 record. I mean, he's good, but that is a fair assessment, right? Like maybe is there a notch above because you're controlling everything, you're clearly winning everything, you're clearly dominant everywhere. Is there an extra notch where you can step up and you can finish these fights? That's a good question. That's a fair. I mean, it's hard to criticize somebody that's 18-0 and dominating everybody, right? But you're just looking. Is there something where you could be a little bit better? Is there something where you could be a little bit different? And I think that's it.
And I guess my question is that, like, when you are that good and everything is controlled, is there ever an opportunity to take a risk to get a finish, or is it why?
Yeah. That's the whole balance of it, right? You could take a risk, but why am I going to take a risk when I'm cruising to victory here? So why should I risk anything when I'm dominating? So it's kind of an interesting scenario because fans want to see finishes. There's no question about it, right? They want to see the knockouts, they want to see the submissions, but it's like, why put yourself in any risky scenarios if you know you're controlling all the way through? So It's a fair question. It's a fair question. Maybe one that, again, you're splitting hairs, right? You're talking about somebody that's 18-0, that's unbelievable. You're trying to get him to just be that little extra notch above, but you can't question how dang good he is.
Well, and I think if we go back to the Benson Henderson fight one earlier, when he sees blood in the water, he's swarming. I mean, he did that with Benson Henderson. He knocked down Benson Henderson, jumped on, grabbed his back, choked him out. And nobody chokes out Benson Henderson.
Nobody.
Right? So I guess it's the swarm opportunism of when he's going to take that. But like when you're jumping on a wounded animal, there's no real risk there to a degree. I don't know. It was just, I was watching it laying there in bed, trying to be quiet. I'm here, Central Time. So it was probably 11:30 at night when I'm watching this main event, trying to be quiet with my wife in bed next to me, sleeping. And I'm just like, I feel bad that the crowd is booing when I know what a masterful performance he is putting on here.
Well, and it probably just goes to speak to the toughness of Brent Primus as well, right? I mean, I know you had some kind words for him, but it probably that may be what we need to be focusing on as to why he's not getting the finish. Because listen, it's not as if Usman never gets any finishes. He does, but when you're fighting at the absolute highest level, when you're fighting the toughest dudes out there, it's tough to get them out of there, right? Because they're responding to everything that you do. They understand the proper defense. They understand what you're trying to do, and they're standing against it. But I think your questions are fair, right? If this guy is going to go from dominant, the talent that we know he is, to the superstar that we think he can be, you're probably going to need to continue that finishes. And he did it. I mean, on his rise up, I mean, he got a lot of finishes against guys that clearly were not on his level. But when guys are on your level, can you get finishes there as well? And that's what takes you from champion and unbelievable talent to superstar, right? And I think a lot of people believe he can be that. And again, I think the other thing too is just not knowing exactly what the future of the organization is. That makes it tough to project where he's going to go moving forward. So a great performance, but it does leave that ability to maybe just step it up like one more notch.
I mean, when you say flawless, it was a flawless performance, and it begs the question: who has the best lightweight in the world, Bellator or the UFC?
What's crazy though is that they train together.
Yes.
How insane is that? Like, normally you would be like, oh man, I remember back in the days of when Pride was in its heyday, right? And we'd be like, oh, what if they did an amazing crossover event like UFC versus Pride? Who would win at heavyweight? Who would win at light heavyweight? Here, you can't even do that because they're not going to fight each other. But if you want to go watch them work out together, if you want to go watch them train together, you can go in the room and you can see potentially the two best lightweights on the planet going at it on a routine basis. It's incredible, man. You think about the talent that's in that room, unbelievable.
I look at it and I don't know if you were doing it. I was doing it because it was clearly a one-sided fight. So I started like fantasy booking in my head as I'm watching this fight, and I'm watching, Nurmagomedov fight. And I'm just saying, like, we know that Makhachev is great on the feet, but I don't think he's as good as Usman. But I don't know. He looks a little bit bigger than Usman, so maybe that power translates. And I'm all these scenarios are going in my head, and I go, and I think Makhachev is better on the ground, but I don't know. So it's like, I think one has an edge in each side, but the other one is so good in that position too. Is it going to make a difference? Or is it just like, hey, stalemate?
It would be phenomenal. I think you pointed out two things that I completely agree with you, is that, Islam feels like just the bigger guy, right? Like he has, terrible, his weight cuts are tough. He's a big dude. He feels like more strong, more muscular, more powerful. But that's the flip side. So Usman feels a little bit more slick, a little bit more. I think Usman's probably the more naturally athletic guy, right? Like if you were to take these dudes and put them into another sport, I think Usman would be the one that would probably be successful, right? He just is more of a natural athlete, where Islam is like this chiseled practitioner of martial arts.
I will smash you.
He'll smash you. I would love to see it, man. We never will. Like, man, you talk about it's training partners is one thing, but like brotherhood, family. That's literally what they are to the core.
It's family.
Family.
They've trained together their whole lives.
entirely. So you'll never see it, but it is pretty wild to think about. But it just goes to show you the importance of having somebody, and obviously, as a lifelong martial artist as well, having somebody that can push you in training on a daily basis is important, man. Your pride and your ego, you want to go out there and you want to win every roll, right? You want to win every exchange that you have. But in reality, you're better served as a martial artist by not winning every time, by being pushed, by being forced to adapt and to overcome and to adjust and to deal with adversity. And those two dudes, I mean, literally, you might be talking about the two best 155 pounders on the planet in the same room, man. That's incredible.
And Javier Mendez has publicly stated Usman is the most talented he's ever coached.
Yep.
That is a bold statement.
Huge statement. You think about the quality of athletes that he's seen, the champions that he has crafted in that room, and to say that that's the guy, what else do you need to hear, man? That's unbelievable.
So moves on to the finals of the lightweight Grand Prix. It almost seems academic kind of with how just kind of an easy time Usman is having. But like we said, who knows what the future holds? Bellator, PFL thought the deal would have been done by now. We don't know if it's going to happen. Seems like it's going to happen. Everything I've read and all the insiders and all the dirt sheets say it's happening, but it hasn't happened yet. Like at one point, we never thought we were going to have a 300 because the deal was going to be done.
It's a weird situation. And that's kind of what kept occurring to me during Bellator 300 as I was watching. It was just like, part of the joy of the sport and the excitement of it is looking at what's next and who, what's the next matchup going to be and how's it going to. And I feel like we're kind of being robbed of that right now because since you don't know if the organization is going to even exist, you don't know. It's hard when you talk about that fantasy matchmaking and what's coming up next. You don't know there. So they got to get something figured out for the health of the company. As you said, everything I've heard, talking to both sides of the equation, Bellator, friends that I have, PFL friends that I have, it seems like everybody is operating under the assumption that, yeah, this is probably going to happen. But nobody knows for certain that it's happening. It seems like it's going to happen. It seems like there's going to be some kind of merger. But then what does that mean from there? Do the organizations both continue to operate separately? Do they come together? Does it change the format of the matchups, the cards? There's just so many question marks, man. And I hope they're able to get it figured out sooner rather than later.
I agree. Let's go on to the co-main event, though. Cyborg doesn't need much to beat Cat Zingano, who's still a little salty after the fight. But she beats her at 401 of the very first round to retain her featherweight title. Listen, Cyborg, okay? But I was shocked it was that easy for her.
I was too. I really was too. I thought this was going to be a matchup that kind of pushed her a little bit. I mean, at some point, Cyborg is going to cease being Cyborg, right? I mean, just athletes can't be at that high level forever. Somebody's going to come along. And I thought that Cat Zingano, the physicality that she has, maybe she was going to at least push her a little bit. I still sided with Cyborg. I just think she's that good. But you just want to see tests. And it was a little bit easier for her than I thought it would be.
There was no confidence. And with everything, if you guys know Cat Zingano's backstory, you know that she walks into the cage with like supreme confidence, right? With everything she's overcome, and I didn't see any confidence in there. It looked from right out the gates. It was a just unconfident Cat Zingano. And I was actually, that's what I was really more shocked about. Because if you even hear her when she gave an interview about when Miesha Tate like slided her during one fight, and she's like, next round I'm gonna smash. That was at UFC 200, and and I just didn't see any confidence out of Cat Zingano.
I just think Cyborg has that aura, right? I mean, it's like vintage Mike Tyson-esque, right? Where you just know, like, oh my God, people are beat before the first punch is thrown. They're already kind of beat because they understand what they're facing. And Cyborg is the exact opposite of that, right? Like she does have that Tyson aura. She walks around with that confidence. The lacking confidence in Cat Zingano, Cyborg has it in spades, man. She's just out there understanding.
But did you see the lack of confidence?
I did, and it's just. But it's wild because I've seen it over and over, right? I've just seen it so many times against Cyborg where people say things, they're like, I remember, multiple opponents along the way being like, I refuse to call her Cyborg. Well, now she's like, legally changed her name, so you have to call her Cyborg. But, it was like, I'm not calling her that because that seems like she's a machine. She's not a machine. She's a person. She's just another fighter. She's, trying to like humanize her a little bit and to take her down a few pegs so that you're not overwhelmed by the moment. But man, you do get overwhelmed by it. And then you see it over and over when fighters get hit, when they taste that power for the first time, they're like, oh, this is not good. So we've seen it a lot. Cyborg, one of the greatest to ever do it, man. It should just, I mean, it's interesting because there's such a great debate whether Cyborg or Amanda Nunes is the greatest of all time, right? And it's really easy to be like, well, Amanda Nunes beat her when they went head to head, so you got to go with Amanda Nunes.
Body of work, though.
But that's it. And I do kind of side with you look at the head-to-head result, but when you look at the body of work, as you just said, I mean, dominance both before and after Amanda Nunes, right? Like Cyborg has
everybody dodged Cyborg. I can't even say she's in her prime anymore.
That's it.
In her prime, everybody.
Nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted that. She's a pioneer. She's an all-time great. So I was actually on a Twitter exchange last night because somebody, just some random MMA fan or whatever, tagged Cyborg and was like, isn't it crazy that no matter what you do, you'll always be second to Amanda Nunes? And Cyborg actually responded and said, I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? I'm good with that. I'm proud of my body of work. I'm proud of what I've done. And I actually had to respond to that, A, because I thought it was classy, but B, because to say, I think it's the argument that really doesn't have a right answer. I think if you sit here in front of me and say, I believe Cris Cyborg is the greatest of all time, or if you sit in front of me and you say, I believe Amanda Nunes is the greatest of all time, I don't think either one of those is wrong. It's a fair argument because Cyborg has the body of work. Amanda has the head-to-head result in, by the way, one of the craziest 51-second fights you'll ever see. The atmosphere, the energy that they brought was unbelievable. But those are the two best to ever do it in the women's game. And I think it's 1A and 1B. I think you can argue either way.
I don't think it's up for debate at this point. I mean, who knows if Ronda Rousey would have had a little more staying power, but it seemed like when she took that L, it kind of little unraveled and she wanted to go do other things. So I think if you're going to say who hit lightning in a bottle and was the most dominant in a stretch, it was Ronda.
Yeah.
All time, Cyborg or Nunes. It's just the way it is.
Rousey was a pioneer. You can't rewrite history and try to pin. I think a lot of people try to take away her greatness and what she meant to the sport. She meant everything to the sport, and you can't criticize it. But it's like, is Royce Gracie the greatest of all time? No, he's not. But you think about what Royce Gracie did and what he meant as a pioneer, and what the sport wouldn't exist if it weren't for him. And I think Ronda is the same way. She was kind of that Royce Gracie-esque. She ushered in an era. She showed us what is possible. She showed us what is capable. And then those that followed her came after her and took it to another level. But don't take away what she meant and what she accomplished.
So what looks like next for Cyborg is Leah McCourt, who, listen, I love wrestlers. That's kind of like a base of mine. And Sarah McMahon, a former Olympic wrestler, silver medalist, I believe. And Leah McCourt TKO'd her in the first round. And every time Leah McCourt fights, I am surprised at her growth in this sport and how good she really is. Now, does she have a chance against Cyborg? Who knows? She came off a split decision loss against Zingano, where me and you both said, like, wow, she fought phenomenal in that fight. To then now coming off that, TKOing Sarah McMahon in the first round, and just in a barrage that Sarah McMahon couldn't get out from under these elbows, which now sets up a fight that they both seemingly want. And they had the face-off in the cage, Cyborg and Leah McCourt. I guess that's where we're going next, right? If there is a Bellator.
Yeah, that's a great point. See, exactly right. Like, they had the face-off, and do we even know if it's really going to happen? But yeah, to be honest with you, I was surprised by that result from McCourt, man. I was impressed. Look, she is a physical athlete. She can potentially go out there and at least give Cyborg something to think about, but it's tough. But as you said, it's just frustrating because we don't even know what's going to happen. Is the Bellator going to be absorbed into the PFL? Are they going to operate separately? What's going to happen? We just don't know. But I like it though. Let's just keep Cyborg busy. Let's keep her giving fights,
feeding the horse, right? And that's then like the growth that McCourt has had, like anything's. This is an MMA game. Ask anybody.
I love it.
Yeah.
Look, I'd like to see it because if not, Cyborg is going to go box. And look, there's nothing wrong. I know she loves boxing and she's had a couple of but I don't want to see her box. I want to see her fight MMA. That's what I think she's best at. And I don't want to see her go to another sport.
And like with a lot of other big names, it's an event when Cyborg fights.
Yes, it is.
All right, let's move on. Apex Center UFC. We already talked about Liz Carmouche fight, so I'm kind of going to breeze over that. But UFC Fight Night 229 from the Apex Center. And Bobby Green makes a statement. Only needs 33 seconds to finish the highly touted and heavy favorite of Grant Dawson. Like, shocking?
Shocking. Absolutely shocking. You know, I going into this fight, I was trying to tell people, look, I think this can be more competitive than a lot of people are laying it out to be, because I believe Bobby Green, his defensive wrestling is a little bit more sound than people want to give him credit for. And we knew Grant Dawson was going to, you know, he's a grappling-based athlete. So we knew that was going to be his approach. And I was like, look, I think it's going to be tougher to take Bobby Green down than you think. And Bobby Green is fun. He's exciting. He's got great stuff. But 33 seconds, never in a million years did I see this happening. Like, oh, I bet he'll just one-shot him and it'll be done in under a minute.
Bobby Green was walking him down with his hands down.
Bobby Green is, to me, I am such a Bobby Green fan in terms of, you know, will he ever be a champion? I don't know. But in terms of, do I want to watch him fight every single time he goes in there? Like, he's exciting. He makes it a fight. You know what I mean? He said going into his media day was incredible. I mean, from the beginning, he's like, look, you know what my job is? My job is to make a boring fighter exciting. You know what I mean? This dude is just, all he wants to do is grapple. He's going to want to wrestle. He's boring. He doesn't say anything in media days. My job is to make this exciting. Well, job accomplished, my man. You made it exciting, man. It was look, bottom line is he starts in 32 seconds and I'm Cageside, and all I could do was just put my hands on my head and just I'm looking around her. It was one of those moments where you just look around and you're like, what did you believe that? Did that really just happen? Like, what shocking result.
I was making dinner, and so I was actually watching it on my phone, being like, I'm putting stuff on my plate because I'm going to go sit down, then switch it from my phone to the television and like eat dinner as I'm watching this fight. I didn't get there. Like, I'm trying to get my plate done before the fight. And so I'm like, okay, I'll be in my seat at a minute. Like, I'll miss the first minute. Like, and I'm like, oh, and my wife's like, what? And I'm like, you got to watch this. And she's like, I didn't even see what happened, because what was it, a left hand, right hand? Yep. It was so damn fast.
Unbelievable, man. It really was the most amazing result, the most unpredictable result. It's unfortunate, man. I believe Grant Dawson is, you know, a legitimate contender. I think he's got great days ahead of him. Like, this is not the end of him, but man, it's just one of those insane results that I don't believe anybody saw it coming. Not like this. Not to say there weren't people that thought Bobby Green could win the fight. There were, and I thought he had a possibility.
Plus like 400 dog.
He was a big dog. He was a big underdog for sure, and I think rightfully so. I think the lines were right. Like, I didn't disagree with them. I would have took Grant Dawson, but this was an amazing result, man. It really was.
You kind of said it earlier, and I'm going to reiterate it, but they said on the broadcast that Bobby Green was quoted in saying, "I'm going to show him what being in a real fight is like."
It's amazing. He did it. He did it. He's great. He was incredible all week, man. He really was. He was trying to get, even their face-offs at the weigh-ins were interesting, right? Where he was, because, you know, we talked to Grant Dawson about it. You know, Bobby was kind of talking a little bit of trash, and Grant had this amazing story. He's like, hey man, I know he's just trying to get in my head, but he's a nice guy. Grant was like, I remember growing up and watching Bully Beatdown, and I messaged everybody that was on Bully Beatdown because I wanted to know, was it a real thing or not? You know, it was this old show on MTV. If anybody ever saw it, of course. And he said, you know,
it was hosted by Mayhem, right?
It was hosted by Jason Mayhem Miller, right? And he said that Bobby Green actually hit him back on social media and like gave him a message. He's like, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. But Bobby's like, I don't want to be a good guy when we're fighting. Don't shake my hand. Don't hug me. Don't talk good. Like, we're going to fight. We're going to have a fight. We're going to have a fist fight. And he went out there. Great result. And now Bobby's saying, hey, man, put me on the December card in Las Vegas. I want to stay busy. I want to stay active. And to me, Bobby Green is must watch every time he gets in there, man. And he's not going to be doing it forever, but I just don't see how you're not a fan of Bobby Green.
Yeah, no, just exciting fight to watch. And when you're walking down somebody just like with his hands down, you're just like, you're not supposed to do that.
That's what's so fun about him, right? He's unique, right? Because, I mean, you see it as a sport evolves, like, you know, people kind of have similar stances, similar styles, because we found what works and what is most effective, right? So for somebody to have a style that's that unique, and not I'm not even just talking as a person, but as a fighter, like, you're not supposed to walk forward with your hands down, but he does, right? Because he can use the shoulder rolls, he can use the head move, he's one of a kind. Nobody else fights like that, and that's why it's so fun to sign up for.
And just got a little bit of crazy in him.
Little bit. Love it.
All right, some news that came out of that fight night afterwards. Dana White gives press conference, lets everybody know our boy Conor McGregor submitted his USADA paperwork, but he's not in the testing pool yet. Explain this to me. What is it? Does the paperwork need to get approved? Like, I don't know. You know more than us.
That's it. That's exactly what it was. Like, look, everything has been submitted, but it does have to go through a process, and it takes a second. It's not just like click a box and hit submit and you're good to go. It just has to be filed. Not that there's really anything to it. It's not that it should be held up. It should be done. As we're talking, it's probably being processed at this moment. I think we'll see the first test for Conor McGregor, probably this week, I would imagine. As soon as he gets signed up and it's official, I think they'll get him going and get this thing working. So, yeah, I think Dana was just, trying to be as accurate as possible, but I don't think there's any concern. So if anybody heard that or saw that, it was like, well, wait a minute, is there a hold up? No, it's literally just paperwork. It's just logistics of everything being processed.
Something that struck me a little, I don't know, odd, or maybe just like, hey, I want to reserve the right to say anything, whether I do know something or don't know something. But Dana White said something to the effect of, I don't have any plans for him as of right now. There's no plans for a fight. And I'm like, so before he was in the testing pool, there was a plan for him. Now that he's getting in, there's no plan for him. What gives?
See, you're speaking Dana right now. You're doing a good job of understanding where it's coming from. Because remember, was it last week? I was like, hey, what about Michael Chandler? Like, is he going to move on or is he going to wait for this? He's like, no, I think Chandler's going to wait. I think Chandler's going to wait and get this Conor fight. Now we know that Conor's in the testing pool, but you don't know what's going to happen. Like, that's just basically that's just like let's not make any plans until we're ready to make them. The way it's lining up sure looks real nice. And let's be honest, man, Conor McGregor is a brilliant promoter. 300. You're laying it out there. I mean, April. It looks like April. If you just do the math, I mean, nobody's really
okay. Hold on. So October, November, December, January, February, March, 7th month, full training camp. Let's give 1 month just in case.
Well, I mean, so you don't count October, but here's the thing is,
well, he'd start testing this month, so 1
exactly
month.
That's it. You need 6 months of testing. It's October 9th right now. UFC
so November 9th would count as 1.
That's 1, exactly. So November, December,
January, February, March, April, 9th.
And what looks like it's gonna happen in April of next year? UFC 300. And gosh, if you were a company that wanted a big star on UFC 300, who would you look to? Maybe you look to Conor McGregor, right? And Conor gets it too, man. Now, I don't know. I don't think this was always the plan, but I do believe along the way at some point, you're like, well, it's not happening as fast as we should. It's not going to happen at 296. We thought it'd be at 296. Now it's not happening. Can we do it for 297? Can we do it for 298? Whoa,
why?
We're talking, why? If we're talking 297 and we're talking 298, why don't we just go do 300? So I think, look, it's just lining up too perfectly. Why would you not want to have that fight at UFC 300? I mean, those are the big events.
I would call you a conspiracy theorist, though, John.
I mean, look.
Then I'm a conspiracy theorist.
Then put your tinfoil hat on and let's go, because it's going to happen at 300. It just makes sense. It makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, it's just kind of funny. Like when I'm reading the quotes and I'm like, it was funny. If you go back and watch the video, as I was talking to Dana White, and again, I've been interviewing this man for years and years and years, but I sensed just a little tiny smile start to come up where I was like, well, we're just doing the math, and it looks like 300, and I could just see it. There was a little smile that came up, and then he suppressed it real quickly, and it's like, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Who knows? Yeah, I don't make fight night.
Yeah, hey, you know I don't make fights. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's just there. We can see it.
Hey, take my money.
I love it. You're going to want to, and like I said, it's not just from the UFC perspective, right? Like the UFC obviously is going to want 300 to be a big event, but from Conor McGregor's perspective, right? Like he understands promotion. He understands the biggest spots and the biggest moments, and he wants to create those things. Why would he not want to be associated with UFC 300, right? I mean, those are iconic. UFC 100, UFC 200, 200 didn't end up being as great of a card as we wanted it to be, but it was supposed to be, and a lot of things unfolded in an unfortunate fashion, but it was built to be a huge event. And I think 300 will be just the same. And I think Conor, he wants to be a part of those cards. He doesn't want to just be a part of fight cards and fights. He wants to be a part of the biggest events, these iconic moments in UFC history, and this will be one of them.
He already holds what, the top 3 pay-per-view sales? Oh, if he's on that, make it number 4.
Unbelievable, man. The dude is in the record books. And it's crazy because, you know, because of the layoff, because of the time away, because of the setbacks he's had, you know, I see a lot of people saying, well, you know, does he deserve to even be that? Does he deserve? Look,
yes.
Guys, yes. 100%. Biggest star in the history of
If
the
you
sport.
say no, you are a hater for no other reason than just to be drinking that haterade, man.
I agree with you.
That would be the dumbest thing to say. It's Conor McGregor.
That's it. He's the biggest star in the history of the sport. There's no question about that. So he absolutely deserves it. You know, people, well, what if he wins? Is he going to get a title shot? Yeah, he is. You know what I mean? Like, does he deserve it? You know, I mean, we can argue about that all you want, but he's going to get it because he's the biggest star, man. He's the guy that gets people talking, man. He moves the needle in a way that nobody ever had.
Look at our energy started rising when we were talking about Conor McGregor.
Bro, Conor McGregor Fight Nights are special, man. He is amazing. He really is.
I want to piggyback with Dana White because Dana White in that same press conference comes out and he says that now he is going to be allowing flags to the cage back again. And he said he kind of came to this fruition by watching UFC Noche and being like, man, it meant Mexican Independence Day card celebration. And these fighters aren't bringing it with them. And it was driving him crazy that the rule that he kind of like subjectively with the Russia conflict at the time, if we timeline it, that's kind of when it started to now. And he was like, I let everybody say whatever they want anyways. It's part of this free open expression company that I have. Guess what? If a flag hurts your feelings, I don't give a F. I think were his exact words.
They were a very Dana White-esque statement. I mean, and trust me, he is that guy. What he's saying is true. He really does not care. I mean, he just believes that people should be able to say what they want, believe in what they want, project what they want, and nobody else should step in there. And a lot of people commend him for that, me included. I commend him for that as well, man. But it does interesting because I still think of things from like a corporate perspective and a business perspective and all that. And I understand that he himself is kind of isolated and bulletproof and doesn't care. But I do wonder if the rest of the promotion will care. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. I do love it. I do agree with what he's saying. There's something cool about representing your nation, man. You know what I mean? Like carrying the flag of your country to the cage and just showing like, hey, I stand for all of you. Like, you guys can't be here, but I can. You know, like, understand, like, I represent you. I think there's something cool about that. But you touched on it. Look, man, look at what's going on in the world right now, dude. There's
that might not age well.
That
because of what just happened this past weekend with Israel, Hamas, Palestine conflict going on. So
that's what immediately came to my mind as he's talking about it. It's like, okay, cool. Like, I commend the fact. I love the fact that we're doing this. But what happens if they want to carry a flag of one of those two nations? Is that going to be okay? I mean, so that's why I wonder. You know, I like it. I think they should be able to, but I just wonder if it's going to be like, no, we just don't care anymore, or if there's going to be a situation where somebody wants to represent a flag where it's like, we can't do that, right? I mean, we can't do that. And listen, you know, part of the reason this as well was there was a flag that was brought in that was like a modification of a flag that was not really an actual national flag, but was like a separatist group of a flag. But I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't know what every flag in the world looks like. You know what I mean? If somebody carried a flag in, would you be like, oh, that's clearly a modified flag, and that means something different? So I commend Dana and what he wants to happen here. I do wonder if this will last or if there will be some changes or some issues or something else will come up, because
there might be like we can have flags like wink wink nod nod. Let's maybe like on back channel stay away. But who knows? I brought that up because of what the current events are dictating.
I think it's worth bringing up because I don't think this is over. I mean, it's one thing to be like, yeah, we made a policy change and we're good to go and we'll never talk about it again. I do believe this is a policy that will be revisited.
And truth be told, like when on the Saturday when he was doing this, it was like when a new conflict was breaking out, like almost simultaneously.
Right. And what was his awareness of that? I don't know. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Was he aware that that was happening at the time? So, I don't think we're done with this topic, if I'm just being honest with you. I mean, again, I love the fact that, as he said, I love, Joe Pyfer was talking about how amazing it was for him to carry the American flag and to represent it. You know what I mean? And they talked about the Noche UFC, that none of them were allowed to carry the Mexican flags. I love seeing athletes represent their nation, because it takes it even to a special meaning for that athlete. You know what I mean? Like, this is not just about me. This is about where I come from, and this is about the people I represent. I love it. I love it. I think it's a beautiful sentiment. I just don't think we're done with this topic yet. I don't think it's going to be as cut and dry as maybe it was portrayed to be on Saturday night.
Yeah, and I'm not getting into any geopolitical debate, but there's perspectives on everything, and so you get a slippery slope, and I don't know where I fall on it. Truth be told, to you, I'm like, hey, if you this is me in a nutshell. This is who I am. Love me, hate me, whatever. But I don't know.
Well, that's
Corporate
it. Because
America.
how do you decide what's right and what's wrong? Like, if there's two warring nations, do we make a decision that, like, oh, well, that nation is clearly in the wrong here, and that nation is clearly in the right, so the guy that's representing the nation that's wrong can't carry his flag, but the guy that's carrying the nation that's right can be? Maybe we make a rule that
what if Modella has something to say about it?
Yeah.
Or what if whatever Monster Energy drink or Venom or any big corporate brand sponsor has something to say about it?
I mean, like, if you again, like I said, I don't want to get in like geopolitical debates, but if you made a rule or if something that was like, look, if your nation happens to be involved in a war at the moment, you don't get to carry your flag. I mean, but I don't know. I don't know what you do. I don't know how you do it. But so that's why I don't think we're done with this topic. As much as it might be like, hey, I made a decision and this is the rule moving forward, and now we know what it is. I don't think we're done with this topic yet.
All right, let's get to a happier topic. 2 weeks away. UFC 294. Mahashev Oliveira 2. Not to be outdone by the people's main event, the co-main. Paulo, Costa, Khamzat, Chimaev. I don't know anybody. Like, everybody, Mahashev Oliveira, everybody's excited for it. I think the top billing card fan perspective is this Costa Chimaev fight. You agree?
I 100% agree. I mean, the Khamzat hype train is just so it's a unique thing, man. I mean, what he's brought to the cage is incredible, and the attitude that he has and the way he fights, right? Where it's just like, we're just going after it. Like, we're just running forward and I'm just going to throw you around. And it's unbelievable. I'm going to smash you, and I don't care who I fight next. I'm smashing you. I'm taking the title. I mean, it looks like it should be a number one contender fight. I mean, if he wins this fight, you got to think he's fighting for the title. Yeah, this is a big.
Yeah, with no fights in the division, if he wins this fight. But hey, Alex Pereira, the same thing, though. The precedent's there.
100%. If the storyline is right, you know what I mean? Like, of course, this is about earning your way to the top and going step by step and beating contender by contender. But if there's a storyline that makes sense, if there's a path that makes sense, you kind of get to skip a couple lines in the rotation. and I think that's where Khamzat is, right? Where it's just like, I mean, if he wins, you want to see him fight for the title, right? You don't necessarily, yeah, but he's only beat this number of guys. Nobody cares. He's a personality. He brings skills to the table. Do you
have a betting line on this yet?
I have not seen a betting line on this, but I gotta believe Khamzat's a massive favorite in it.
You think?
Yeah, I think.
See, this is where I go stylistically on stuff, right?
Right, but always, and this is what it's talking. When you put the betting line in there, you're talking about that public perspective as well, right? I mean, you got to think, or there's that Khamzat in that public perspective, in that betting money, man. People just see him as this next level, and he may be that next level. He hasn't necessarily accomplished it yet, but he's at least shown it. So yeah, I have not looked at a line, but if I had to guess, when I say massive, hold on, I'm not talking about like 700-800. I'm not talking about ridiculous line, but I'm thinking, at least like minus 250 or maybe minus 300, somewhere around there is my guess.
Paulo Costa fought Yoel Romero when Yoel Romero was Yoel Romero.
Right.
Romero couldn't take him down. And if you recall, Paulo dropped him at one point.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm just like, I'm not really want to be in the business of predicting fights. I like analyzing them more. right? But I'm trying to like simultaneously try and find.
But you got to look. I mean, look. He fought for the title against Israel. So you mentioned the Yoel Romero fight. Amazing, man. That was, as you said, that was Yoel, prime Yoel, right? Then you talk about the Adesanya fight. Not a great performance by any stretch of the imagination. And then you talk about all the fallout of that, right? You know, the whole, I was drinking wine because I couldn't sleep over there, which, by the way, it's sleeping over there in Fight Island with the schedule was very, very difficult. So it wasn't him just talking trash. Like, I understand. But then you had the Marvin Vettori performance and the whole weight, making weight issue, and they had to change the weight class, and so that was subpar. And then he comes out and he beats Luke Rockhold, but isn't able to put Luke Rockhold away, and that's a Luke Rockhold that was kind of teetering on like, is he really? Does he care? Why is he here? What does he want? So I mean, you're talking about 3 straight question mark type performances. So stylistically, you're right, but you look at the performances that the guys had, and you wonder where his head's at. I mean, physically speaking, the dude's a specimen. There's no question about it, his capabilities. But I think you wonder about like mentally where he's at and what he thinks. Then you have Khamzat, who is just this destroyer of worlds. You know what I mean? Like, this dude is just relentless. Like, doesn't care about you. Is just going to just.
I mean, his first fight at 85. This is the fight he picks.
Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. So, yeah, I mean,
I couldn't find the line, by the way. I was trying to look on it. I was on the spot, like trying on my phone. I can't. There's too much pressure.
So like, you're not used to the nerves like that, man. You're in the spotlight.
With technology, I'm not.
Hold on, let me find. All right, here we go. Oh, yeah. See, I didn't even give it enough. I'm looking at anywhere between. I said minus 300. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm looking at anywhere between minus 360 and minus 400, depending on the house. So huge favorite, Khamzat Chimaev. And if he wins this fight,
I look at a lot of people said, well, Luke Rockhold, he couldn't put him away, and Luke Rockhold was dead tired, and this and the other. I almost look at that in the complete opposite. I'm looking at a guy who is so well-rounded in Paulo Costa, battering Luke Rockhold on the feet. Luke Rockhold is a elite level striker as well. And Luke Rockhold hit him with everything and the kitchen sink and never even phased Paulo Costa. He ate those shots like nobody's business. And the crowd got all hyped in this, that, because it was so one-sided. And then Luke Rockhold would hit him with 2-3 big punches, and it would make Paulo Costa take a couple steps back. But it never really phased him. And I looked at it through that perspective, and I'm like, the shots that Costa could take there too. And I take that Izzy fight and I throw it out the window.
I agree. I agree with that. But man, the Khamzat, bro, dude. I mean, first, okay, look, the Kevin Holland matchup. All right, UFC 279. That was crazy. That whole week and everything unfolding and changing and whatever. I take that one, even though it was a dominant victory. I take that one and throw it out the window, right? But like the Gilbert Burns fight. I mean, Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns is as good as it gets.
But I'm saying Gilbert Burns at 70 hurt Chimaev on the feet. What do you think Paulo Costa could do at 85? I don't know. I'm just style.
I'll be honest with you though, man. I just don't. He might not throw a punch on the feet. You know what I'm saying? Like, he might not throw a punch on the feet. I think he's literally just gonna walk forward and shoot the double as like from the opening bell and just relentless takedowns, and that's what I see. So look,
if you were to put the line, what would you put the line at? Or am I putting you on the spot too much?
No, I mean, I'll be honest with you. No, I mean, like I said, I was guessing minus 250, minus 300. It turned out to be even bigger. So yeah, I mean, I think there is a chance. You can't count out Paulo Costa. It's not like as if he's just some dude that like, why is he even in this fight? I mean, it's a high level mixed martial arts fight, but I do believe Khamzat is that guy. I believe
he's that guy too, but I believe that Costa is a giant man at 85. Giant.
Yeah.
And I think the personality and the persona of Costa right now is maybe like playing into. Listen, truth be told, I put this fight as a pick'em. I really do. I truly do, because listen, Chimaev, a lot of people said, well, see, he might not be that guy based off the Gilbert Burns fight. I put Paulo Costa as a Gilbert Burns, but bigger.
Yeah.
but bigger.
But
And
see,
that was a pick'em fight. That fight ended up being a split decision. You could have, I mean, Chimaev won it. There was no, there was no controversy there, but it was still such a razor close fight. Khamzat has only had one other fight since then, and it was Kevin Holland, and now he's going against almost that same fighter, but bigger.
But see, I look at things a little bit different, and maybe it's just the way I look at it. To me, is like, look at who he got tested against, and he survived that test, and he won.
Yeah.
The one I always look to is like,
this is not to detract against Chimaev. This is to prop up Costa.
Yeah. Oh no, 100%. Costa, but oh man, pickup's tough. But I look at like Alexander Gustafsson, John Jones. And a lot of people looked at John Jones and they were like, "See, that shows that he's human." I'm like, no, that shows how good he is, because he didn't have his best stuff that night, and he went against a tough athlete, and he found a way to get through it. And I look at the same thing as like, man, Khamzat Chimaev should not have been ready for Gilbert Burns at that level in his career, and yet he still survived, and he still got through, and he still won that fight. You're right. You are right. I love the fact that what you're saying is like, it's like a bigger version of Gilbert Burns, a more powerful, stronger. I mean, Costa is a specimen, man. There's no question about it. So that's why I say I can't. I'm not counting him out. I'm not saying, but I just think Khamzat is that guy, man. I think
the Chechenian wrecking machine.
I just think
switching
he's that guy.
nationalities on us.
Oh man,
bases. There's just so much surrounding him that you're intrigued by as well.
100%, 100%. And again, I mean, the fact that he could be fighting for the title after this, you know what I mean? I think he probably should. I mean, that would be crazy. He beat Gerald Mearshart at 185 in his debut. Then he went down to 70, and now he's going back to 85 to be 2-0 in the weight class and to get a title shot. Does it make sense? Maybe not, but come on, it does make sense. You know what I mean? It does make sense.
He's that guy.
He's that guy, man. He's that guy.
Well, we can get into breaking down the that fight even more in the Oliveira Makhachev probably next week. But man, I wanted to take a minute, kind of settle back in. Can you believe this is episode number 50?
That's wild. That's crazy. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Episode number 50 of Cageside with John Morgan. Crazy.
That's awesome, man. It's been fun. I've really, really enjoyed it, man. We've done some great stuff, man. Again, so much has changed for you. Things have changed for me. I mean, it's unbelievable, but it's wild, and I've enjoyed it, man. It's been a lot of fun.
This has been a lot of fun. Usually I hated Mondays because it's usually my busiest day, and I added one more thing onto a Monday. But I love this game so much, and to talk with like a voice in a mind like yours every single week, it actually made my love for this sport grow even more, truth be told.
That's awesome, and I agree, man. And I love the fact that, I mean, it's such a unique perspective. You think about what the perspective that you get to bring to the table, man, is not one. There's not a voice out there that's very. I mean, is anybody else really, active as an official and talking about the sport and what they see? I mean, I think that makes it so fun. I mean, obviously, I've been covering the sport for a long time. I've been talking about the sport for a long time, and there's nothing I want to do more than to talk about the sport and to share it with fans. But you bring such a unique perspective because of your experience. You know what I mean? And so I think that's what makes this one so unique, at least from my point of view, is that I get to speak with somebody who really brings something to the table that I don't see out there very often. And I think that's cool. And to think about during the journey, man, that you've been able to make it all the way up to what you accomplished this week, to being in Las Vegas, the fight capital of the world. Look, I'm not trying to big up you.
On my face.
I know I'm not trying to big up you too much, but that's cool, man. I mean, that means something. To get assignments out here in Las Vegas, man, that means something. That's special.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm glad to be part of the community. I'd always been part of the community, but now I'm part of like maybe that elite inner community of the community, which is just, I mean, it's special. The people I've met, like sitting down and talking to Chris Lieben in between fights, like unbelievable. Like my buddy Grant was at the Apex sitting next to you while I was shadowing a couple weeks ago, and he just casually snapped a picture of me and Chris Lieben sitting in the bullpen with the officials, just chatting. And I'm like, dude, I would have slapped myself 10 years ago.
You gotta like pinch yourself, right? Is this really happening? Like, this is crazy, man. Shout out to Chris Lieben too, right? I mean, legend of the sport, and to still be at this game and involving himself into that way, man.
And he was on Bellator 300 this past weekend.
Yep. As he's serving as a referee, serving as a judge.
love to see him still be involved in the sport. That dude's a legend, man.
You know what? The one thing actually we'll take off here in a minute, but the one thing he said to me the other night at Contender Series, because we were talking about how brutal that Ruffy fight was in the third round and how his opponent just kept coming forward. He goes, what separates this level from every other level, and this is his exact words to me, he's like, the amount of damage that you can take at this level. He's like, that's what's really separating people. He's like, there's skill everywhere, but if you can take that amount of damage and keep moving forward, that's what's separating this elite level from all the rest.
That's a great point, man. It's such a true observation, right? Because you're getting cracked with shots. I mean, nobody that's competing at the highest level, it's like, well, they never get touched. You know what I mean? So they just continue. No, they get touched. They get hurt. They get rocked, but they continue to move forward. Like they have that desire. They have that will, and they won't let it go away, man. And astute observation, man. I'm a Chris Lieben fan. I always have been, man. The cat smasher, bro. I wish he wouldn't have gone away from that. I know he became the crippler, but he'll always be the cat smasher to me, man. And that dude is a true legend of the game, man. It's so cool to see him still involved and
he could crack.
Oh, unbelievable, man. Chris Lieben. What a legend.
All right, well, that wraps up episode number 50, Cageside with John Morgan. For John Morgan, I'm Eric.
Wait, we don't get to CFFC this Friday night, UFC Fight Pass. I mean, if you want to see the UFC level official in action, Florida this week, Tampa Fairgrounds or Florida State Fairgrounds in Tampa, you're going to be there. I'm going to be there on UFC Fight Pass. I just had to work in that plug, bro. I didn't
Friday
mean to screw up
night
your closing.
CFFC Cage Fury Fighting Championships. John Morgan, will you have a special guest or special?
CM Punk will be on the mic. He'll be there.
You, CM Punk on the mic. I will be in the cage, and these are the stars of tomorrow. Literally, like 8 contender guys this year alone came off of CFFC. Dozens more are in the UFC. You guys have an text change that just says ring ring when a guy got pulled up. I'm in the know about that, right? Yeah. The amount of talent that goes through that organization on UFC Fight Pass, the production is out of this world. The talent is out of this world. The commentary is out of this world. And hopefully I can just not screw up inside the cage as the third man.
Hey, that's it. So I didn't mean to screw up your closing there. I didn't mean to mess everything up, but I didn't want to get out of here without giving a plug for that because, I'm just a fan. Like you said, I'm a fan of the sport the same way you are, and I love seeing these athletes and these people and referees and everybody else kind of make their way up through CFFC to get to the next level, to get to Dana White's Contender Series, to get to the UFC. So Friday night, UFC Fight Pass. Check us out. I think it's going to be a fun card.
With that being said, for John Morgan, I'm Eric McMahon. Enjoy the fights.